Hello and welcome back to the Stronghold. It's that time again. It's midweek, and I want you to play some Magic because you can win 2 free rare or better ICRs as well as the potential for some cosmetics. This week's midweek Magic event is one for all. So we're building a 60 card Singleton deck in which nothing is banned. Everything is legal, which means it's basically historic. I'm not really sure at this point whether you can use traditional versions or alchemy versions only, but I guess we will find out because we know a little bit more about the format here than last time, and we're going to take a little different approach this week. Stay tuned. But before we get into all that, my crack research team has recently pointed out that we are the only channel doing consistent and timely midweek Magic content. And by crack team, of course, I mean one comment from someone who had nothing at all to do with this monkey image. So be sure to subscribe right here at the Planeswalker Stronghold for all of your future midweek Magic needs, because we will be bringing you a deck list or strategy every single week. Now, what were we talking about this week? Oh, yeah, right. Last time we had an all-for-one event, we focused on trying to play as many previously banned cards as we possibly could, and that brought us to the Simic combination of blue and green. Today, I'm suggesting a slightly more consistent approach. Now, a lot of people would say that the most budget-consistent deck out there has been mono red, and that's true. Mono red is always in the conversation. But it's not consistent in what the deck actually is. For instance, this year it's all about goblins. Last year it was all about bombardment. The year before that it was about elementals, and before that it was kind of a wizard-esque burn deck. On the other hand, when you look at mono green from a budget perspective, it's always the same song. These are about flooding the board with big, dumb creatures and beating your opponent down with it. And that message stays consistent year after year after year. So your mono green deck only gets better over time as the quality and density of your big, dumb green creatures just goes up and up and up. So for today, we're going to tackle all for one with the perspective of mono green and historic. And I'm going to take a few minutes and go through card by card what is in my recommended list. And of course, your mileage may vary on this. There are a few things in this deck that I can't guarantee you have, but I guarantee you have something that fits the theme of another big dumb green creature to put in its place. So first off is Blizzard Brawl. It's kind of the ubiquitous removal pump spell of green. If you haven't seen this, I'm not sure where you've been living for the last year and a half, but welcome to MtG Arena. Neverwinter Dryad, just a great utility blocker common from, let's see, what is that, Midnight Hunt. Snakeskin Veil, doesn't matter which copy you're running, it's a great pump spell, as well as giving a creature hexproof to save it from removal damage, whatnot. Tenacious Pup is kind of new to the conversation. I think this is one of the best budget cards in Alchemy, particularly at the uncommon slot. It just does dumb things when you bring down a turn 2 creature, give it +1/+1 vigilance and trample. It's just absurd. Similarly, Soulstealer Axe solves one of the problems that we often face with mono green. Is if you're facing a deck with chump blockers, it just gives your opponent time to stabilize. So really what you want to do is give a creature trample pretty much on demand, and this particular equipment does just that. with the added bonus of allowing you some additional card draw in the form of seeking a card with mana value equal to the additional damage that you spill over onto your opponent. So pretty solid, exactly what mono green needs in many respects. Ochre Jelly, of course, one of those rares with trample already, and can have the ability to get pretty dumb, especially when you are adding +1 counters to it post summoning. This was from your new player experience, so I know you've got this because dusting doesn't exist. Devouring Tendrils, another great little fight spell. Dragon's Guard Elite, this is one of those that if you have a better card, maybe cut it. Magecraft in green is not huge, but it's a thing. Druid of the Cowl is one of our historic cards. So we haven't used a wild card on this, and that's because you can get this card, both a playable copy and the fairly cool cosmetic that you're looking at right now, by using the code Sparkle Druid. Those words are jammed together, and each individual word is capitalized at last I checked. Again, that gives you a playable copy of Druid of the Cowl as well as the cosmetic. Make sure you've done that. It's a great spell to have. Inscription of Abundance, I think you're pretty familiar with this. Just a really good utility spell, and was part of your new player experience. Lotus Cobra, a fantastic green card. I think this was part of our new player experience, but we're coming up on that 6-month mark, and I don't remember off the top of my head, and I'm not going to take the time to look it up. If you've got this, run it. If you don't, run something else. It's going to be okay. Prosperous Innkeeper, a card I absolutely know you have and are familiar with. Tons of decks are running this. Basically anything that can generate green mana is running this card. A 1/1 for 2 creates a treasure, and whenever another creature enters the battlefield, you gain life. It just doesn't get much better than that. Rabid Bite, because green needs removal, and fight spells are what it's all about. Ranger Class, one of the great non-creature spells of green, because it creates creatures, it makes creatures bigger, and allows you to have more creatures. So it's all about creatures as an enchantment, pretty well. Sculptor of Winter, we're running the Snow-Covered Forest land base, and this allows you to ramp pretty nicely. Tangleflorahedron is a little bit more ramp, so you can get to those big things. And Werewolf Pack Leader is maybe the #1 rare from our new player experience. Just imagine playing this behind Tenacious P. For 2 green mana, summoning a 4/4 Trample Vigilance. It's just stupid good. Clear Shot, because again, fight spells, they matter. Kazandu Ambush, hey look, it's a fight spell that can also be a land if you don't need a fight spell. And there we've got Kazandu Mammoth, our 3/3 trampling buddy. Excuse me, he does not have trample. I've always thought that was stupid that a mammoth didn't have trample. So my brain just fixed the card. But it can also be a land if and when needed. From there, we've got Settle the Wilds, another one of our Alchemy uncommons. Allows you to seek a basic land, put it onto the battlefield tapped. So it is a fantastic ramp. Then seek a permanent card with mana value equal to the number of lands you control. So if you're casting this on turn 3 without any ramp, it's going to go get you, let's see here, what is it? Prize Unicorn, Spirit, Toski, Master of Symmetry, or Solemn Simulacrum. All very, very solid. And before we move on, let's not forget about our old friend, Old Growth Troll, and his 4/4 trample token generating ability. Pretty darn awesome. Asika's Chariot, you've probably never heard of this card. It really doesn't do much in Standard. No one plays it. Haha, just kidding. If you don't know what this card is, again, welcome to MTG Arena. This has to be your first day. First place we are using a wild card in this deck is for a copy of Collected Company. This is a card that pre-alchemy historic change was pretty much defining historic, and I think it's going to continue defining historic. It is an instant speed for 3 and a green. Look at the top 6 cards of your library. Put up to 2 creature cards with mana value 3 or less from among them onto the battlefield. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in any order. This card is stupid good. You're eventually probably going to want 4 copies of this, but let's start with one today. Second place, we are going to use a wild card, is Guardian Project, the green card that was pretty much made for Brawl. It's an enchantment for 3 and a green. Whenever a non-token creature enters the battlefield under your control, if it doesn't have the same name as another creature you control or creature card in your graveyard, draw a card. It's Brawl. You only get 1 copy of everything. So any creature you play from that point forward is going to draw you a card. It's absolutely fantastic, and a lot of people are not going to main deck enchantment removal, so you're just going to draw cards all day long. We talked about Prize Unicorn from your New Player Experience Monocolor Collection. Spirit of Algard, also from your New Player Experience. Toski, New Player Experience. Harmonize. Hopefully you've been able to pick up a copy of this from Drafting Strixhaven. If for some reason you haven't, don't worry about it. It's not something I would use a rare wild card to have. Just sub in the previously mentioned other big dumb green creature. Master Symmetrist, again from your New Player Experience, grants trample to almost everything in the deck. And Solemn Simulacrum is one of those cards that we used a wild card on to add to our historic collection. This goes in just about every historic deck you'd ever want to play as a budget player. For 4 mana, you get a 2/2 body. As it enters the battlefield, search your library for a basic land card, put it onto the battlefield tapped. When Solemn Simulacrum dies, draw a card. So he's kind of like your Swiss Army knife. Non-chromatic creature, just fits everywhere. Ashaya, this is from your New Player Experience, and one of the better mythics really in our New Player Experience, and it's just made for green. Its power and toughness are equal to the number of lands you control. Non-token creatures you control are forests in addition to their additional types, so all the creatures plus all the lands you've played up to this time. This can very easily be like a 7/7, 8/8. Even if you face some removal at that point. Frog Hemoth, you know him, you love him, you just don't envy his smile. 4/4 Trample Haste for 3 and 2 green. When it deals combat damage to a player, exile up to that many target cards from their graveyard, put a +1/+1 counter on Frog Hemoth. For each creature card exiled in this manner, you gain 1 life for each non-creature card exiled this way. So this is that rare card that if you resolve it, they have to deal with it or they are going to lose the game, because this is just going to get more and more out of control. Rootless You, a 5/4 uncommon from current standard. I think it's pretty easy for you to have 1 copy on this from just about anything. The main reason we're running it is because it allows you to tutor up a card. Search your library for a creature card with power of toughness 6 or greater, reveal it, and put it into your hand. And we've got some of those things like Tovolar Huntmaster, Vorinclex, and Rampaging Brontodon. But before we finish out the 5 drops, let's take a moment and recognize Gigantosaurus with his 5 green pips, a 10/10 dinosaur, because that's what every 8-year-old wants to play in Magic, is a ginormous 10/10 rare dinosaur. So let your inner Timmy just have fun. Affectionate Indrik, that is another one of those cards from your monocolor New Player Experience. Mostly it's in here as fight spell number, 27 or so. Tovolar, this is one of those cards you may not have in your collection if you don't sub in previously mentioned big dumb green creature. But he's pretty good all on his own. He's even better in a werewolf deck. And I'm sure next year we'll be talking about him a whole lot, because my prediction is he's going to be part of the New Player Experience Red-Green Werewolves Matter deck. Vorinclex, Trample Haste 6/6. This just ends games on the spot. And if for some reason it doesn't, it makes all your +1/+1 counter stuff better, makes all their counter stuff worse. It's just dumb. And of course, a Rampaging Bronodon, yet another card from our monocolor new player experience collection, a 7/7 trampler that gets +1/+1 until end of turn for every land you control. And don't forget, if you have a Shia in play, your creatures are also lands. So that just gets stupid big with trample. They have to kill it on the attack step, or it just gets retarded. From there, we've got the lands. I'm assuming you have a copy of a Lair of the Hydra and a Faceless Haven. Don't forget, now in Historic, only the Alchemy version of Faceless Haven can be played, but if you owned a copy of the quote-unquote real standard Faceless Haven, you automatically got an Alchemy version. And from there, we're also running 19 Snow-Covered Forests. So quick review, the Wildcards that I am encouraging you to spend from your reserve collection is one rare for Collected Company and a second rare for Guardian Project. Anything else in the deck that you don't already have in your collection is probably not worth using a wild card. Unless for some reason you had not used Solemn Simulacrum previously, I do still think that's a fantastic investment. But anything else, I would say just substitute in something else that you have in your collection and roll right on with this event.
What's that? You didn't catch all that? Well, Matt would like you to know that any deck list applicable to this video can be found down in the doobly-doo. And hey, let's not forget, the whole reason to participate in these totally free midweek Magic events is the prize support is awesome. You get a rare for your first and second win, and then you get a random cosmetic for your third. How awesome is that? Alright, so with all that having been said, don't forget, smash the like button like Hulk would. And of course, comment and subscribe if you haven't done so already. And one last thing, myself, I'm coming to you from America, and I have noticed that about 1/3 of my viewership is coming from the US, and about 1/3 is coming from various countries. And there's about 1/3 of my viewership that is just getting lumped into other. So to let me know you got to the end of the video, throw me a comment down in there and let me know where you are watching from.